A long, long time ago, there lived a kind king named Midas. He was loved by everyone, but sometimes he acted very foolishly. Once, when he was granted any wish by the gods, he chose to ask for the gift of golden touch, which means anything he would touch would turn into gold. But things didn't go according to his plans, and he soon ended up losing his daughter, whom he loved the most. After pleading with the gods, his gift was taken away, and his daughter returned back to life. You would think after this that perhaps Midas would have acquired a little common sense, but he didn't. Midas decided from then on to live a simple life and went to live in the mountains, and it was there that he met the god Pan. Pan played music with his pipes, and people passing by would be mesmerized. He would spend many hours playing music, and soon he was very well known around. Midas thought that Pan's music was the most beautiful in the world, and often spent days praising Pan for his musical skills. Pretty soon, the gods heard about Pan's skill, but one god, Apollo, who was the god of music and arts, didn't like this. One day, Apollo challenged Pan to a musical contest. A date was set, and Tmolus, the mountain god, was to be the judge. People from all around came to witness the spectacle. Everyone hushed as Pan began to blow on his pipes. Everyone enjoyed his playful melody, but none as much as Pan's dedicated follower, King Midas, who sat close by, dancing in his seat. At the end of his performance, everyone cheered for him. It was now the turn of Apollo. He took out his lyre and gently ran his fingers across the strings. The crowd was awestruck and gasped at the beauty in just those few notes. After the performance, Tmolus declared Apollo the winner, and everyone cheered, except Midas. Midas was furious that Pan didn't win the contest, so he dashed over to Apollo to protest. "Your music is not fit for human ears," he proclaimed. Apollo, taken aback by this outburst, could not believe what he was hearing, and he said, "You must have the ears of a donkey if you think Pan is better than me." Saying that, Apollo turned Midas's ears into the long, furry ears of a donkey. Midas was terribly embarrassed. How could he appear before his people with these big donkey ears? No one would ever take him seriously again. From that day onwards, Midas was seen wearing a large hat at all times. His subjects often remarked on it. Where did King Midas get that strange hat? And why does he insist on wearing it all the time? Nobody knew the truth except for Midas himself and one other man. Donkey ears or no donkey ears, Midas had hair just like any other man. And like any other man's hair, it needed to be cut. Midas's barber was sworn to secrecy and promised never to tell of the donkey ears as long as he lived. But the secret was too big for the barber to contain. Soon enough, the barber found he was desperate to tell the secret. He just had to. He was true to his word for many years. But as time passed, his need to share the secret grew stronger. Until one day, he could hold out no more. The barber went out into a field, dug a hole in the dirt, and whispered into the earth itself, King Midas has donkey's ears. Feeling much better now, he covered the hole and walked back to his shop. Time passed, and reeds grew up over the place where the barber had dug a hole and told the secret. When the wind blew through them, you could hear them whispering. And imagine Midas's surprise when the reeds of the meadow whispered in the breeze these words: King Midas has donkey's ears. King Midas has donkey's ears. Very soon, King Midas was a laughingstock. So once more, he left his home and went to live in the far mountains. Once upon a time, a long time ago in ancient Greece, there lived a king named Midas. King Midas loved 3 things more than anything else in the world: his little daughter, his rose garden, and gold. Nothing gave him more pleasure than seeing his little daughter picking roses in the garden, roses she placed in a golden vase to decorate the castle. One night, while strolling through his rose garden, the king stumbled over a satyr. A satyr was a half-man, half-goat. This satyr looked half-starved and very ill. King Midas brought the satyr into his castle. He made sure the satyr was washed and fed and tucked into bed for a good night's sleep. When the satyr woke up the next morning, his fever was gone. The king and the satyr had quite a nice chat over breakfast. King Midas was surprised to hear that the satyr belonged to the powerful god Dionysus, the god of wine and truth. That very day, the king personally took the satyr home in his very best chariot. The satyr might only be a servant, but he was the servant of a god and deserved the very best treatment, which is something the king would have done anyway, because the king had a very kind heart. As it turned out, the satyr was more than a servant. To Dionysus, the satyr was his teacher and good friend. Dionysus told the king he would grant any one wish the king made to thank him for taking such good care of his friend. The king did not wish anything for his daughter because he had given her everything she wanted and a whole bunch more besides. He did not wish anything for his rose garden because everyone knew he grew the finest roses in all the world. That left gold. King Midas wished that everything he touched would turn to gold. When the king arrived back at his castle, he pulled out a chair to sit down at his table. The minute he touched it, the chair turned to gold. He touched the table. He touched a vase. As soon as he touched them, they turned to gold. King Midas raced through his castle. Everything he touched turned to gold. He was so happy. He shouted to his servants to cook him a feast in celebration. So they cooked and served him a feast. That's when the trouble started. Everything looked and smelled so good that King Midas reached out and grabbed a fistful of food. As soon as he touched the food, it turned into gold. He touched other food. Whatever he touched turned to gold. He tried leaning over and ripping a piece of meat with his teeth, but that did not help. The meat turned to gold in his mouth. The king's eyes filled with fear. He knew if he could not eat, he would starve. This was terrible. The king did not know what to do. King Midas wandered sadly out to his rose garden. his little daughter was in the garden picking roses. When she saw her father, she ran into his arms for a hug and turned to gold too. King Midas hung his head and cried. As his tears fell on his precious roses, they turned to gold, but the king did not care. He did not care about his roses or his gold or himself. Dionysus, hear my prayer, the king begged. Take my wish back, please. Take my wish back and save my daughter. One last time, the king's wish was granted. His daughter came back to life. The king learned a lesson that day, and he never became greedy again.